and welcome back to my channel. Here's Lacrima and I want to introduce you to Arasteia, a horror and fantasy inspired digital artist. But before we start, I would like to inform you that due to time constraints, I will limit my schedule from Tuesday and Friday to Friday only. This means that possible interviews are published every second Friday. You can subscribe to my channel to get notified about new video uploads. Now I wish you much fun with today's artist interview.
Hi everyone, I'm Arasteia, or a lot of people call me Ari. I'm 23 years old and I'm a hobbyist digital artist from Australia, so I really hope you can understand my accent.
What's behind your artist name?
So my artist name might sound pretty weird, but there's not actually a very complicated reason behind it. It was actually the name of my first Skyrim character, who was a Dunmer, or Dark Elf for people who know the franchise. The name itself was actually stolen, kind of appropriated from a character in Greek mythology. I think her name was I don't know how you'd actually pronounce it. It was probably Arasteia or something, I'm not really sure. But I kind of just removed the letter D out of it, and it became Arasteia. And that's what my character's name was. It was actually looking at Skyrim fan art that got me back into digital art after I'd stopped drawing for a few years, so I thought it was pretty appropriate to name my online persona after my first character from it. The nickname Ari was not me at all. I had some watchers on DeviantArt who just started calling me that, and it caught on, and so I kind of took it as an official nickname.
How would you describe your art and style?
This is actually kind of a hard question, as I've done a lot of things over the years, but nowadays I'd say my art's probably kind of a mix between dark and fantasy, a bit of both. I'd definitely love to be able to do more horror stuff, but at the same time I also want to be open to doing kind of lighter stuff. So I guess in terms of content I'm probably going to be sticking to that dark fantasy kind of hybrid thing for a while. And I'm never entirely sure whether to call it realism or semi-realism, because I don't really know the difference. That sounds stupid, but in art, I think there's sort of a fine line between what's realism and what's semi-realism. My work's definitely not hyper-real. I mean, at least the lizard studies might be, but not the people, usually. I think a lot of the time it probably is more towards the realism side, but I also have kind of a semi-realistic way of shading, I guess. And I also have one style with the features which are definitely very semi-realistic rather than realistic. Big eyes, small nose, that sort of thing. But if anyone has an umbrella term for my art, hit me up because I don't know.
What do you aim to express with your work?
If I said the last question was hard, I think this one's harder. A lot of the time, my art is kind of just expressing whatever I feel at the time. But I've always been drawn to the plight of the outcast and internal struggles and human nature and that kind of thing. So I guess that's something that I try to explore in my art a lot and would like to explore a lot more in the future.
How long have you been creating?
So I've been doing digital art for about 6 years now. I used to draw a lot traditionally when I was younger. When I was quite young, about 8, I drew a lot of realism, mostly animals, and then I started doing a lot of very classic anime style traditional drawings. And then when I was about 13, I kind of had a break and didn't draw anything for a while until I reached about 16 or 17, and then I discovered Skyrim fan art, and that took me to digital realism, and then I slowly evolved into the semi-realism / realism I do today.
Who or what are your biggest influences?
So I have a lot of digital artists whose styles I really look up to, but I can't actually draw like them. A lot of my favourite artists actually have completely different styles to how I draw. I can't really pinpoint any sort of one singular artist who's really influenced me, but I think lately I've been very much inspired by the colour palette and moods of a Tenebris from DeviantArt. They do a lot of greens and browns and a really sort of classic oil painting vibe, which I would love to be able to do. So I'm kind of trying to push a bit more towards that, but I don't know if I'll ever really get there because, in the end, your style's your own. You can't do much to change it. Well, I mean, you can, but why would you want to? It's yours. Otherwise, I guess The entirety of ArtStation has kind of been a big influence on me. My likes page on there is basically a summary of my entire style and vibe.
Do you have any goals or projects you look forward to?
So I don't really have any huge projects or goals that I have in mind. I would really like to be able to do some more illustrations for my work in progress story. It's not published or anything, I'm not a famous author, but I'd love to be able to do some scenes of them interacting with each other. I've done some portraits so far and that's been a lot of fun, so I'd like to expand on that in the future. And I would also like to be able to do a lot more big scenes with multiple people in them, lots of interactions going on, and like dynamic posing and, cool magic and blades and stuff.
What advice would you like to give to other artists?
My advice for other artists would probably be, if you want to improve at your art, the best thing you can do is practice. Nobody started drawing amazing, everybody started drawing stick figures and circles that aren't circles. And who can draw circles anyway? And maybe most importantly, don't worry about your style. Everybody seems to be, they're worried that they don't have a unique enough style. They're worried that it's not something that people are going to like. But I say just do what you want, draw how you want. You will develop your own style naturally. A lot of the time, you probably don't even notice, but you do draw in a specific way that is unique to you and that people will know that it's you. I remember when I was having my own style crisis a few years ago, I asked if people could know my work when they saw it, and I thought my art was just like the most generic realism in the world. But everyone who replied said that they knew it was me. So, yeah, don't worry about it. Just practice. So I guess that's me. I hope this hasn't been too boring, and I hope my accent wasn't too hard to understand. I just want to say a huge thank you to Lacrima for having me on here, for listening to me ramble, and for doing all the awesome editing on the video. It's probably a long time to have to stare at my art. And thank you so much to all you guys as well for listening in, and for supporting me on Twitter, on DeviantArt, wherever you're from. Thank you so much. It's a lot of attention for a little girl from the bush. So thank you again, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much for the inspiring interview, Arasteia. You can find more of her art on the profile links in the description and her art channel, which is linked in the info box. Please support her with a follow and leave a comment on the video. She really deserves it. Our next interview will be on Friday in 2 weeks with an amazing artist and designer named Arasteia. Thank you really much for watching and have a wonderful week.